Hi, everyone. This is Royce Eddings, the host of Royce in the House. And I've got my colleague with me, Scott Harris, my co host tonight. And I just want to say about Scott Scott's an excellent musician. Scott, you just finished what, your third album in a series that you're doing?
Yeah, I'm finished with my third EP. I'm actually mixing it right now, and then I'm gonna have somebody mastering it. Somebody that I'm really proud to work with, which is really cool.
God, that's
This
great.
Yeah, and then it's coming out on 214, so I'm really excited. It's getting some good exposure already with the singles, and yeah, I'm just excited to get it out there finally.
And maybe later on you can tell us, a little bit about the individual albums and stuff like that
Sure,
after we after
absolutely.
we get through some of the show and stuff, because I'm really impressed with what you've been doing.
Thank
And
you.
so we're talking about Woodstock tonight, and it's going to be a great show. There's a lot going on. Hi, Nicole. How you doing? Oh, Nicole's in the show.
Cool.
Let me just say hi. Okay, so anyway, we're live now, and I just want to ask a quick question: is everybody ready?
Ready.
Okay. Okay. Well, first thing I want to say is I don't think a conversation about Woodstock can even take place without describing what was going on in the late 60s leading up to Woodstock, because that's such an important part of the whole thing. I mean the country was full of protest. I mean, we had racial protest, equal rights protest, Martin Luther King, everybody was protesting for equal rights. And it was, I mean, there were Latino protests, Indian protests, women's rights protests. Uh, and then we had, of course, the youth of America had really turned against the Vietnam War. In fact, by the time Woodstock took place, well, no, by the fall of '67, the summer of love, '67, only 35% of Americans supported the Vietnam War. And there were protests on college campuses, excuse me, from East Coast to West Coast, nonstop. You had the shootings at Kent State, that Crosby, Stills, Nash Young wrote a song about. Tin soldiers and Nixon's coming. We're finally on our own. And we had all the protest songs. Jerry Maguire, Eve of Destruction. Eric Bird and the Animals had some fantastic, war songs. I mean, I love the one Sky Pilot, and they had another one too. But there were just all these great protest songs out there. In fact, on my iTunes, I have a list of just protest songs from that era that I love to put on, and there's 7 or 8 of them and just go through them because they were all really good songs. They were all very popular songs.
Definitely.
Hi, Caitlin's here. Hi, Kate. And Robert Rowe, the Rock and Roll podcast. Caitlin has Caitlin's Corner, and Robert Rowe has the Rock and Roll podcast. He's got a bunch of really good shows lined up, as does Caitlin. And I really appreciate you joining us for our conversation on Woodstock tonight. And I've started out by saying we just want to set the whole concert up by what was going on in the era. The concert took place in August of '69. I think it was 15th through the 18th, but it kind of drug over into the following day for Jimi Hendrix because everybody was late. Everybody was tied up in traffic. People were going on different days, different times. The whole thing was just getting completely out of control. In fact, the whole situation was completely out of control. But it's still, I mean, I would have given anything to have been there. I don't care how bad it was. The mud, the rain, the mud, the hunger, and everything else that took place. It would have been what an experience to have been there. In fact, I was going into my junior year in high school when Woodstock took place. School was going to start a couple of months later, and I was going to be a junior at a school in Las Vegas. And Woodstock was just such a big thing to all of us that we spent the next 2 years looking for the next Woodstock and traveling all over the place. We heard there was going to be a concert that was being billed as the next Woodstock. We'd all pile in cars and head for Laguna Beach or wherever that destination was that we heard the next Woodstock was going to take place. And so that's what we did. So like I said, 60s, 67, 2 years before Woodstock, we had what is called the Summer of Love. And that took place in San Francisco, primarily the Haight-Ashbury district, which is a street corner, Haight Street and Ashbury Street. And it's just called Haight-Ashbury. And 100,000 people, an estimated 100,000, hippie-like people, long hair, bell bottoms, taking drugs, getting high, all migrated to the Haight-Ashbury area in 1967. And I recently did a little travel vlog on Haight-Ashbury, where I walked up and down the streets and talked about the Summer of Love. It was fun. It's just a little 15-minute thing, but I really enjoyed doing it. So anyway, so we had Haight-Ashbury 2 years earlier. It was really, drugs had become a big thing. The Vietnam War protests had become a big thing. 1,000 students, returned their draft cards, and then 2,500 people either burned them, returned them, or just threw them away. Muhammad Ali's protest against the Vietnam War, he took his gold medal off and threw it in the river, threw it off a bridge into the river. His gold medal he won at the Rome Olympics. And in fact, I've been expanding my show a little bit. It's usually it primarily had been music, vinyl album unboxing, and every show was a music show like tonight is. But last week I actually did a show on Muhammad Ali, and I had a lot of fun doing that because I was a huge Ali fan, and so it was a good time. And next week I might try something a little different, get a little bit away from the music. There's always music involved in every show. Muhammad Ali had a album that hit 61 on the charts and was nominated for a Grammy Award. Anyway, we'll go on from that. So this is what was going on leading up to the Woodstock Music Festival. And it actually took place not in Woodstock. My co-host Scott lives in Woodstock. How long, Scott, have you been living in Woodstock?
I've been living here since I'm living in one town that's right over. It's West Virginia. So, but it's basically Woodstock. It's right off of 375 by 212, and my wife grew up in Woodstock, so I've been here since 2009.
Gotcha.
My wife grew up in Woodstock, actually in the town of Woodstock, from when she was in like kindergarten. Like she was like 5 years old when she moved here. So
your wife did.
She grew up in the culture. She's friends with the Langs and Richie Haven's daughter. There's a lot of people that
Richie Haven's daughter, huh?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that were living in the Woodstock area after the concert, obviously. So Michael just passed, sadly. But Michael was up here until he passed. So he's been living up here since something like, I think he bought that house in late 60s, early 70s. He's been up here since. Oh, yeah.
So do people still talk about the Woodstock Festival a lot? Is that still a common? There's probably little stores dedicated to it and stuff where they sell.
Yeah, of course. there's definitely a lot of people come up from, the city area looking, for all the tie-dye stuff. And actually, my cousin, well, it's actually my wife's cousin, owns a store called Ever Records. It's a record store that just opened about a year ago. And he's got a really kind of like interesting eclectic mix of different vinyl that he sells. It's all older stuff. It's not anything that's like, he doesn't really sell new stuff. It's all like a collection that he acquired about a few years ago. He was taking care of a locker in San Francisco with over 30,000 records. So he's pulled back. Wow. Yeah, he pulled back about 6,000 or 7,000 records to bring to his store. So he sells a lot of Dylan and things like that. Hendrix. People are looking for the band, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But there's definitely like an undercurrent of people that are still into
that's
whole hippie thing and stuff.
I figured that had to have been the case, And the interesting thing is so that was the backdrop. It was all protest. And I remember the period very well. I've got pictures of my hair being down, Right. There's a picture of me and my wife actually before we were married. And I think my hair was longer than hers and she had long hair, So I was kind of a part of that whole, not the serious protesting part where we lived out there in Henderson, Nevada. You really didn't see any of that kind of stuff. We were far removed from, the big cities and the big universities and, the Abbie Hoffmans and, all these people that were leading the protest movements. In fact, I think I mentioned this on a show before. I understood that they classified, marijuana, the same way they classified heroin, only because they knew that the leaders of the protest movements all smoked pot. And maybe
Right.
they could arrest them all and put them in prison by classifying it so harshly. And it's still classified that way to this day, even even though so many states have actually legalized it. It still goes against federal law. But anyway, so this was the backdrop. It was crazy. In fact, I remember that people didn't, when they talked about politicians and our government, they referred to them as the establishment. And it was really used negatively, the establishment. It was like the establishment hated the young long-haired party and protesters, and the young-haired party and protesters hated the establishment back. It was a mutual feeling. You didn't.
Right.
It was There were no Republicans, Democrats, Independents. It was just the establishment. These are the
Yeah, I
same
mean
guys.
those guys like Abby Hoffman, those guys are yipsters. You know, New York City.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
Jewish smart guys that were, you know, against the establishment, that started their own underground press. So that's a lot.
yeah.
Also, too, there's a lot of
Right.
that too. If you want to research that, you can look into the yipster stuff that you can find it on.
Yipster stuff. Okay, yeah. I hadn't even heard the term yipsters before, but I
Yeah,
mean, 3 days of peace and music kind of turned into 3 days of, mud, rain, and food shortages. It wasn't easy feeding everybody, and
right.
a lot of the food and drink were laced with LSD. In fact, they kept announcing over the loudspeakers, "Don't take the brown acid,"
Right.
and so many of the performers wound up out of their minds on acid, and turned in some of the most amazing performances ever. Wow. Well, on psychedelics and stuff like that. Okay,
Yeah.
so the concert was they were trying to get it going. They pre-sold, I think, 50,000 tickets, and they were getting ready to put up all this fencing and stuff. Well, all of a sudden, hundreds of thousands of people started showing up, and all that went right out the window. It went from being a ticket sales concert to being a free concert because they just couldn't control it anymore. I mean,
Right.
four young guys, none of them older than 27 years old, put the whole thing on. They all had a little bit of experience. They'd put something on before, but this was like something that just really like went over everybody's heads. And so they finally got it going. And the very first act, who wasn't supposed to be the first act, but everybody was stuck in traffic. In fact, traffic was so bad, everybody wanted to be a part of this event, that people finally started, rather than sit in hours in traffic that wasn't even moving, they were getting out of their cars, abandoning their cars, and walking the rest of the trek to the concert, to Bethel, New
Yeah, they
York.
closed the throughway.
They closed it. Yeah, I mean, and even the performers couldn't get in.
Yeah, they
And
had to fly them in.
yeah. So I'll go ahead and kind of get into the concert a little bit, or we will anyway. The very first performer, and it was kind of unplanned for him to be the first performer, was actually Richie Havens. And
Right.
I don't know how many people know about Richie Havens, but I never knew about Richie Havens till I saw the movie Woodstock that was made and came out shortly after the concert. And I mean, my musical taste, I gained all kinds of new favorite bands after watching that. And Richie Havens was just an amazing guy. Richie Havens plays an acoustic guitar, and we saw him in concert after Woodstock, Betty and I, downtown Long Beach. I think it was at the Roxy or the Fox. It was a little theater downtown Long Beach. And we went down there. Richie Havens was playing, and I loved Richie Havens. I had some 8 tracks and stuff like that. And Richie Havens came out wearing a suit. I mean, just dressed impeccably, with an acoustic guitar strapped on, and he spent the entire time singing, strumming, and hopping up and down. And when he walked off stage, he was soaking wet, like he jumped in a swimming pool from perspiration. And it was one of the most amazing performances I've ever seen in my life. So Richie Havens was the opening act there,
Yep.
and yeah, and it was a fantastic performance. It was just absolutely amazing. And let me see. I'm going to put up a picture here. Some of these pictures talk about who's supposed to perform when and on what day, but
Mhm.
it really didn't seem to turn out that way. And
Right.
here's one here. It showed on Friday. You have Richie Havens listed number 4 here. You have Joan Baez was playing, Melanie, Arlo Guthrie, Sly and the Family Stone. But if I'm not mistaken, Sly and the Family Stone didn't play till Saturday. Sly and the Family Stone, John Sebastian. John Sebastian, this is John Sebastian was really popular back in the day. In fact, let me bring that back down for a minute. I have a John Sebastian album here, and
Yeah, there
I
you
was
go.
listening to it again today. I hadn't listened to it in a long, long time because I mean this is vintage stuff, and it was really pleasant to listen to. A very good artist, you know. So
Right.
that was John Sebastian. He also played there, and let me pull that little sign of the. Okay, wrong one. Okay, here's the one I had up. So John Sebastian, Sha Na Na in Sweetwater, and there was a story circulating around about how Sha Na Na was got on the bill. They owed it all to somebody else. Do you know what that story is, Scott?
I'm not sure,
Yeah,
but it's definitely interesting that they did play that show because they kind of even though 50s rock and roll, I mean, doesn't really fit in with the rest of it. And if you watch the movie, it's interesting. It kind of like they don't really fit in with the rest of it. But
no, they don't fit
although
in. No,
I loved Na 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 in the 70s. I mean, I grew up
yeah,
on that.
yeah, totally different genre. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so yeah, so I have different lists of. I've got a list here, I think, of the true order, not what was the advertised order, because of everything that took place. But I
Right.
mean, the audience was diverse. It was reflecting the rapidly changing signs. The hippies who felt alienated by society and that was steeped in materialism. Um, the country was deep in controversy over the Vietnam War. I mean, it was just supposed to be a day for everyone to let their hair down and just enjoy music and just try to forget about everything that was going on around them and had been going on around them for years. But there was some safety and security issues. In fact, I might as well just go ahead and read this right now. There was all right. Yeah, this has to do with all of the things that took place. Like, for example, there was 797 bad trips, like acid trips. 23 seizures took place. Two people were killed. Now, one of them was a Marine that overdosed on heroin, but the second guy was laying in a bunch of trash, kind of passed out, and there was tractors that were pulling all the trash and the effluent from the sewage effluent and stuff like that, hauling it out of there and stuff like that. And they ran through this trash pile and didn't even see him, ran over him and killed him in a tractor.
That's
And
crazy.
that was the other death. And then 57 cases of heat exposure, 176 asthma attacks, 938 foot lacerations. I mean, you can imagine broken glass and pop tops and stuff like that. 135 foot punctures, 346 other foot injuries. God. One woman fell from stage scaffolding. She was climbing up. She was probably high on something, and broke her back.
Wow.
A 17-year-old, like I said, was ran over by sewage toting tractors. Um, and then there was something like they had to set up separate tents for the people that were taking bad hallucinogenic trips that had to be calmed down, or and there was something, a couple of hundred an hour or something like that. We're having these bad trips. So there was a whole bunch of really stoned people there. I mean, it was, there wasn't a lot of food. They tried to set up a kitchen and they were feeding people and stuff like that. In fact, here's a kitchen. Here's a picture of a kitchen right here where they're trying to feed people.
Right.
And here we go again. So yeah, they were doing everything they could to try to feed people, give them
Yeah.
something to drink, and keep them as safe as they could. So anyway, so the list that I have, which I think is the real first day list, there was a total of 32 musicians that played. Some of them we didn't really know who they were. We didn't know who Santana was till they played. Didn't have any albums out. But Havens was followed by an unscheduled blessing by yoga guru Sri Swami Satchidananda, and other performers of the day were Bert Summer, Sweetwater, Melanie, Tim Hardin. Everybody remembers Ravi Shankar, I think is the way they pronounced it, because he was kind of, the Beatles hung out with him a bit and played.
Right.
He played that sitar instrument. And
Yeah.
Arlo Guthrie, I liked Arlo Guthrie a lot. And so anyway, that was basically the first day, you know. and I had the John Sebastian and the Richie Havens thing, and we talked about the other stuff. But the second day is where it got even more interesting because Santana showed up, and Santana had been opening for the Grateful Dead in Las Vegas. And Santana and his band, they were all used to mescaline and acid because they hung out in San Francisco, and they all played free concerts at Golden Gate Park, right down the street from Haight-Ashbury, where the Summer of Love took place. And so, so when they got to the airport, Carlos Santana looks up, and here comes Jerry Garcia, the Grateful Dead. They're good friends, They play together. And so Garcia comes over and he tells Santana, he goes, well, you're scheduled to play 2 acts behind me, and we're not going to be playing for about 11 hours. So do you want some acid? And Carlos goes, well, yeah, I'll take some acid. Well, he figured he's not going to be going on for about 11 hours. Well, 2 hours later, after a bunch of cancellations and stuff, they came to Santana and said, you're on now. And he was about as high as you could possibly be on LSD.
They all were.
They all were, exactly. About as high as you could possibly be on LSD. And they wound up having to go on like that in that condition, and turned in, I mean, in my opinion, and I saw it, and I'm a huge Jimi Hendrix and some of the other bands fans, but in my opinion, Santana almost stole the entire show. Their performance was insane. That song,
Absolutely.
Soul Sacrifice, that's on their self-titled album, Santana. I became the biggest Santana fan I know once I saw them at Woodstock. And then shortly after Woodstock, they finally released their first album. And in fact, I have a copy of their very first album, Santana. And I love this. I don't think this to me is the best album Santana ever made. The songs on this album,
great album.
Just, oh my God, I absolutely love Santana. It's one of my all-time favorite bands. I still listen to them today. I'll always listen to them, but they're just so good. And so anyway, so they got up and performed.
And Michael Carabello, like that's the drummer that's on the Woodstock concert in late 60s, early 70s. He just killed it. I mean, that whole drum solo in the middle is
that whole drum solo.
He's flying on acid too.
Oh yeah, that was a big band too. There was a lot of people there. I mean, two percussion setups, and what an amazing sound. And Carlos was just the drummer was great too.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a pretty famous poster, and even I've seen it painted. I think even George Kolkoff's done it with Carlos and the drummer. Their heads are kind of close together.
Right.
It's pretty famous, and George did a great job on it. I really liked it. And I'd actually like to have that now. I wonder if he still has it. Yeah, he probably could make prints. But anyway, so Carlos Santana and the group, they were all messed up on acid, and they were used to taking it. But I mean, those were the times.
Yep.
It was crazy back then. And so let's see, who else did we have on that same day? Well, Country Joe McDonald. I really like that song he had about Vietnam. I don't know if you remember that song. It's like, and it's 1, 2, 3. What are we fighting for?
Yep.
Don't ask me. I don't give a damn. Next stop is Vietnam.
Yep.
It's 4, 5, 6. Whoopee, we're all gonna die. Is how that chorus line ends. Whoopee, we're all gonna die. That was Country Joe McDonald. And I spent the last 2 weeks looking for that album. I waited too long to order it because I'd really like to have it. I did find some Country Joe, but it had to have the Vietnam song on it. I wasn't going to buy it,
Right.
And so Santana, Country Joe and the Fish, a couple other bands here. Looked like maybe John Sebastian played the second day. Incredible string band, Canned Heat, going up the country. I really like Canned Heat. I was a big Canned Heat fan. Did you like Canned Heat, Scott?
Yeah, Canned Heat's great.
Great band, man. That bluesy, that going up the country, that was a great song. And of course, this was my favorite, Grateful Dead album. Grateful Dead also played, that second day. And we talked about, Jerry Garcia and Carlos Santana. But I mean, this is the best of Grateful Dead. And it's got some of the really cool songs on it. Like, for example, let's see. Casey Jones, driving that train high on cocaine. Casey Jones, you better watch your speed. Mexicali Blues, Turn on Your Love Light. I have to wear glasses. One More Saturday Night, Friend of the Devil is a Friend of Mine. That's a cool song too. And The Golden Road, Truckin' Down on Bourbon Street. I listened to this like crazy, like in 70, 71, 72.
Yeah.
Rosemary, Sugar Magnolia. These are all the best songs. It's the greatest hit.
Yeah.
And I like every one of these Grateful Dead songs. I've never was a big Grateful Dead fan, but when I moved to Long Beach, it was in 71, it was pandemonium. And songs like Truckin' and stuff like that played like a dozen times a day, you know? And so anyway, so that was, do you have any albums at all of the Woodstock era bands?
Oh yeah, I do. I haven't pulled any, but yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, like, you know, the first Santana record I have, Praxis, you know, Praxis too. You know, a bunch of live things. There's a live thing that they put out a few years, well, maybe it was like 12 years ago, whatever.
Yeah.
Live at the Fillmore East.
Right.
I think it's Fillmore West, actually. The San Francisco, live at the Fillmore
West, not East. Yeah.
That's like 69 or 70 around then. Santana's amazing. I saw them a bunch of times.
Oh my God, I love
I didn't get to see, I mean, I didn't get to see them until like in the 90s. You know, I didn't go in the 80s or anything like that. But before Supernatural and all that stuff hit.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was always great live, and he's an amazing guitar player. And and I definitely think that, you know, Santana was the standout out of all of the Woodstock performers.
They were the standout. They really were.
Yeah, and I'm a huge Who fan too, but I don't think
sure
that night. You know,
well, you know, I feel exactly the same way you do. Santana stole the show for me. They really did. And I mean, I thought Jimi Hendrix was wonderful too. Grateful Dead, I just put their album down, but I wanted to say that they were criticized for a really poor performance. But what they said about their performance was this: it was raining, part of the stage was collapsing while they were trying to perform, and they were being electrocuted through all their instruments and microphones. In fact, one of them got a shock from 5 feet away from his microphone. So they're being electrocuted, the stage is collapsing, it's raining on them, and then we're criticized for a poor performance. Well, it kind of makes sense when you understand the circumstances that were going on, you know.
Sure.
But
yeah, I mean, I'm personally not a big Grateful Dead fan at all. They're not on my list of bands that I like. I mean, I grew up in the late 70s, going to grade school, junior high, and you know, so many people were into the Grateful Dead. Like the town that I grew up in, actually, you know, 79, 80, the Dead were one of those big, huge bands that everyone that listened to FM radio loved. I didn't like them. I was more an Allman Brothers fan as far as a jam band thing is concerned.
And that's what Santana was. I mean, it's not Santana. I'm sorry. Grateful Dead was considered just one big jam. It wasn't like, you know, song after song, but it just kept going. And it got to the point where, like, I don't know, it was like in the 80s and stuff like that, where there was a group that followed them that were really into like taking meth, and they were just called Deadheads. They almost lived. I don't know how big the group was, but they were a well-known group. They just kind of lived to follow the Grateful Dead around from show to show. That was their life, you know.
Yeah.
And and I ran into a few of them at one of the parks and stuff like that. But I wanted to say hi to someone, Gino Powell. He wanted to go, but he just graduated from high school, had a new job, and couldn't make it off. Santana ruled. You know, Gino, that's exactly what Scott and I are saying. We absolutely love Santana there. He saw Santana at the Fillmore East in 1970 and met him after his show with the Allman Brothers and the Jones at Jones Beach. And Scott, I took your advice. I watched the Allman Brothers with Dwayne Allman perform at Fillmore East. Yeah. And it was great. You know, everything you said about it, I agree with, you know. So anyway, so that was Grateful Dead's experience there. And I got to tell you, I was never a Grateful Dead fan, you know. Until I moved to North Long Beach in like 1971, before I was married, and I had a revolving door. My friends from, you know, the Las Vegas area, one would move out, two would move in, two would move out, one would move in. Had a constant flow of people, and then the rest of them would just come down in carloads and party. You know, it was a crazy place, a crazy time. But anyway, so we had our share of fun. Some of us are lucky to be alive, and some of my friends aren't. And a lot of them died young, and a lot of them died from just continuing a lifestyle that was never meant to be a lifestyle. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Youthful experimentation or whatever you want to call it, but
Yeah.
it wasn't meant to be a lifestyle. But it wound up being one for some people. But anyway, so we had Country Joe McDonald and we had Santana, Canned Heat. I always liked Canned Heat. Grateful Dead, Creedence Clearwater. Now, Creedence Clearwater, I'm a huge fan of Creedence Clearwater. I would have to tell you that um, I, I bought my first two 8 tracks after I put my stereo in my little 55 Chevy when I was 16 years old, my first car. Put a stereo in it with my first paycheck from one of the casinos kitchens where I was working, where we all worked in the summer. And I bought Creedence Clearwater Bayou Country, and I bought Creamed Israeli Gears. Those were my first two 8 tracks. And to this day, I still listen to not the 8 tracks, but CDs and albums. I've got most of Cream's albums. I might be missing. No, I think I have Wheels of Fire now. Cream Goodbye, and Creedence Clearwater. I mean, I can't say enough about Creedence Clearwater. You know, they're just like so many of the bands that I love. If I put one of their CDs in my car and start listening to it, um, I don't take it out for a long. It stays in for a long time. I mean, and I'll even put certain songs on repeat. That's how much I really get into the music that I've always liked.
Right.
You know, so Creedence Clearwater. I've got an original pressing of Bayou Country here. I have Bayou Country. I have Green River, which is a #1 seller. I didn't realize that. I love Bayou Country with Graveyard Train and all those songs so much that for some reason I thought Bayou Country was the biggest seller, but actually it was Green River was the biggest seller. And so anyway, Creedence, this is a fantastic band. I mean, it's got Born on the Bayou. I hit that stuff. When I heard that stuff for the first time, I absolutely lost it. And you thought this band was like from, some Cajun New Orleans or something like that. You find
Right.
out Lodi, California, not that far from San Francisco. And that was kind of mind-boggling because of just the sound that they had it was a southerny, Cajun-y rock sound, you
Definitely.
know.
Yep.
And yeah, Keep On Chugling. I mean, just great songs. I love Creedence Clearwater, and
Yeah.
so many of this stuff I've listened to forever. But so then we also had, of course, Janis Joplin. And what I'll say about Janis Joplin on this list, Grateful Dead on this list, Santana on this list, and even Jefferson Airplane on this list, they all played free concerts at the Golden Gate Park, and
Right.
thousands of people would show up. Like I said, it was
Sure.
just down the street from Haight-Ashbury. My next door neighbor was a San Francisco cop for years, but he's a great guy. He got me into surfing and everything. At 37-foot sailboat, we sail out to the Channel Islands and stuff. But he got me into surfing. He was a cop in San Francisco, but he was an unusual cop. Him and his friends, like a lot of us, were getting in trouble, late in high school and stuff. And his dad had been career military, so Pete uh, joined the army to get away from all the problems, him and his friends were having. Well, when he finally got out of the military, come to find out his friends that he was getting in trouble with had joined the Oakland Hells Angels. And so they remained friends. Those guys would drive down on their motorcycles and visit Pete, and I'd be out on a construction site and I'd see that I have a message, and it'd be Pete saying, "Hey, Roy Spooky and some of the guys came down from the clubhouse in Oakland." He goes, "We're all going to go have sushi. Why don't you meet us at such and such?" And I'd always got these messages late. I would have went down and done it because it would have been fun. And he said, "You should see when we walk into the Carlton to order sushi, and I got 3 Hell's Angel with me wearing their colors." You saw the looks on people's faces. It was like jaws were dropping open, glasses were dropping on the ground. It was like,
That's crazy.
yeah, it was crazy. But anyway, but at the time of all these free concerts at Golden Gate Park, they would send Pete down there undercover, so he got to wear his hair long, and he'd go down there and smoke weed and stuff, and try to get to know who the bigger contacts were. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. I'd actually like to get Pete on sometime. He probably would have been fun to have on tonight, but I don't know if he would even do something like this or if he's ever done anything like this. So it might have been kind of
Yeah.
complicated. But anyway, so let's see. So also we had Creedence Clearwater there. Janis Joplin. Now, I was a fan of Janis Joplin. In fact, I have 2 copies of this, and I know they have I know they have a new one out, remastered and everything like that
Right.
with a similar but prettier cover with some foil on it and stuff like that.
Yep.
And that might be kind of fun to have. But I have two copies of this. I have my old original and then one I found that had a little better cover. This may be the one I found with a little better cover, actually. It's not that great. But Janis Joplin, oh my God. I mean, she could sing a song using just one instrument, the most important instrument in the band, the human voice,
Hmm.
like Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz? My
Yeah.
friends all have Porsches. I must make amends. I
Yep.
mean, what a great songs.
Hmm.
Uh, this one's got "Move Over," "Cry Baby." That's a really good song, "Cry Baby." "A Woman Left Lonely," "Half Moon," "Buried Alive in the Blues," and what a bluesy voice she had.
Amazing.
Is she part of the 2700 club?
I think
There's
so. I
so many that died at 27. I think she's
think
part of
so.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, me and Bobby McGee, fantastic song, Mercedes Benz.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah. She's a big Aretha Franklin fan. You can
yeah,
tell.
what a voice though. Yeah, she kind of hung out with the Hell's Angels a little bit. The Hell's Angels kind of in the San Francisco area kind of got a boost from the whole hippie thing because they always had long hair and stuff. So all those bike clubs actually became popular, and we're having a great time in the middle of all this craziness.
Yeah.
And well, also there was another band that I always really, really liked. Seen them twice in concert at the Hollywood Palladium with my wife. I don't know, about 9 months apart or something like that. And I was always a big fan of this band. And this is Sly and the Family Stone. And Sly himself, here's a picture of Sly. Yeah, you talk about a performer. If I'm not mistaken, he was like a DJ, and put a band together. But you talk about a performer. Would they get out there and perform and they do the song "Want to Take You Higher,"
Yep.
And when the whole band left, he'd come out for another 20, 25 minutes and just carry on with antiques and singing and dancing and silliness for another 20, 25 minutes. But he was a hell of a performer. I mean, if you never saw him, he was great. I mean, thank you
Absolutely.
for letting me be my friend again. I want to take you higher. That was a big hit. Hot fun in the summertime. Stand and fun. Everybody is a star. Everyday people. That was a big hit. Dance to the music again. You can make it if you try. Sing a simple song and my lady life. But this is every one of these songs. I don't know if you ever got into Sly and the Family Stone. Not everybody did.
No,
But
I love them. I
do
love
you?
them. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. My
Well,
favorite album, Stand.
oh, Stand. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we had our period of time in 67, 68. We were kind of between the British invasion and Woodstock, where me and my friends all turned to soul music, and we were listening to the Temptations and Wilson Pickett and the Isley Brothers and Otis Redding, of course, the great Otis Redding with Dock of the Bay and
Yeah.
Marvin Gaye and
Yeah.
Aretha Franklin, James. I mean, it was just the list went on and on. It got to the point where we started listening to that, and before long, it was kind of like all we were listening to for a while.
Well, yeah. What's
Yeah,
cool? What's really cool about Sly is that the
yeah,
band was mixed. You know,
yeah,
they're a
yeah.
mixed band, so um, there wasn't really a lot of that happening back then.
No,
Where there was
no,
like
that's right. Yeah,
black front person and the drummer's white. So
right.
it's cool that they were doing that. Well, Hendrix Experience obviously too.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And they had a great horn section. I always liked the horns.
Yeah.
I love saxophone and the trumpets, and I like the horn section in there too, like Chicago had, and some of the other bands. A lot of people bring the horns in. It's great.
Yep.
The Stones used to always like to bring a nice saxophone player in and stuff. Just soft, sweet music. I love that stuff. So
Yep.
yeah, I was there, and then I've got I have kind of an interesting story about the Who, because also playing was the Who, and this is
Yep.
Meaty Beady Big and Bouncy.
I love that album. I
I
have
know,
I have a
isn't this
couple
a great
copies.
album?
I have a couple copies of that Meaty Beady Big and Bouncy album. Great record.
Yeah, it really is. And This is an old copy. You know, it's a gatefold.
Yep. That's Deca though. I have that too.
Yeah,
I have one that's a gatefold and one that's not a gatefold.
but from what I
gatefold is MCA.
yeah,
Right.
but from what I understand, it was the same situation with these guys. You had you know John Entwistle and Keith Moon, you know, the drummer and the bass player. They dropped acid, you know, and they were in a station wagon with a couple of young girls when the band was supposed to, you know, be getting ready to go on. and the band was kind of finishing up a set, and one of the leaders of the protest movement, Abby Hoffman, jumped up on stage and ran to the microphone while they were still standing there with his instruments and started, "This shouldn't be about music. This should be about, you know, our society," and da 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 da. And let me see, what's his name? Pete Townsend took his guitar and whacked Abby Hoffman in the head. And there's various stories. One said he didn't really hurt him; he just walked off stage. Another story was that he knocked him out. And then the third story I heard was that he knocked him off the stage. So I don't know what the truth is.
Right.
You know? And the singer got up there and he just wanted something to drink, and he went to where the refreshments were near the stage and didn't realize that what he was drinking was actually tainted with LSD. He got up there and said he stood in front of that 500,000 people that showed up at the concert, estimated from, you know, 400,000 to 500,000. I don't know if anybody really knows for sure, but one time you'll read 400,000, one time you read 500,000. I even read once 1 million, which I don't really think that's accurate. But he said he stood up and looked out at this 500,000 people and just about freaked out, you know, because it was so messed up.
Yeah.
But then he, you know, pulled himself together and went on with his performance. What a crazy time. You know, then they kept announcing over the speaker, "Don't take the brown acid, it's bad." You know, people were like being taken to tents because they were having bad trips. And oh my God, that's just mass craziness right there. Okay. So so what else have you learned living in Woodstock about some of the craziness that happened and traffic snarls and
Well, I know for sure. I mean, I know the stories like that I've read about Woodstock, but you
yeah,
know, I know stories that, you know, basically like you know, that I've heard through the grapevine through, you know, my wife,
yeah,
Michael Lang.
right, right,
And when I was working at Warner Music, I mean, I work in the music industry, that's what I do. But when I was working
right.
at Warner, they had these like class things that they do like after work, and they like order food and
Okay.
pizza and stuff like that and beer.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
you know, it was like a Q&A, and they did a Q&A with Michael, and he was there, and he walked through, you know, his whole time of how he put the concert together and how he was
Okay.
having problems with securing the space. Like originally it was supposed to be in the town of Woodstock, but they couldn't find the
Yeah,
right area to do it. And, you know, they kept going and moving all these different places, and
yeah. And the first town
like,
got cold feet and started passing ordinances, I heard, to
right,
prevent them from actually doing it there.
exactly.
Anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, it's yeah. So I mean, he went to a bunch of different places, and places always would fall through. And he would be telling people, like, you know, they're like, "How many people you think are going to show up?" He's like, maybe, you know, a couple thousand, but he knew that it was going to be huge.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and I think that, you know, he secured Isker's Farm, which is now Bethel Woods. You can go to Bethel
Yeah.
Woods and go to concerts there.
Right.
They have an amphitheater on that spot, that same space, which if you are up in the area, if you ever go there, it's gorgeous. The landscaping is
Really?
just absolutely beautiful. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Really, really gorgeous and really cool to see shows, you know, and a lot of concerts happen there, you know, Skinnerd and, you know, bands that are coming up for the time or whatever that are doing stuff in
Right.
the summertime or whatever. Yeah, I mean, you know, I think he didn't secure the space until 2 weeks or 3 weeks before the concert, and they had a lot of problems with, you know, getting ordinances and all that other kind of stuff or whatever, trying to secure the
Right.
space, making sure that everything was right for it. And then,
Right.
you know, just, you know, the thing is that Bethel Woods actually is not right off the thruway. So like you have to go to the thruway to Kingston to exit 19, and then
Oh,
you have
wow.
to go 209, and you go 209, like literally an hour and 20 minutes away from the whole Woodstock area. So it's not really anywhere in Woodstock area. I mean, it's like literally it will take you an hour and 15 at least to get there from Woodstock.
Okay.
So
now you were talking about this guy. Now this was let's see. Was this Michael Lang you're talking about?
Michael Lang. Yep.
Michael Lang. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then they finally got offered a place by a 49-year-old dairy farmer. And I don't know if I say his name correctly. It's Mac Yasker.
Yeah, it's Yasker. Yep.
Yasker. Okay, Mac. 49-year-old dairy farmer, White Lakes area of Bethel, surrounded by the Catskill Mountains. That's a pretty place.
Yeah, I mean the Catskill Mountains in it's like a huge area. It's like from exit. It's pretty much like from exit 19 to 21 or 22 on the throughway. So it's a big area. So now, yeah.
Did you wind up there because your wife's from there?
Did I what?
Did you wind up there because your wife's from there?
Absolutely. I mean, we moved back up here because all our friends are up here. So, they all people that grew up in Woodstock. A lot funny. The Woodstock area is a lot of people that moved up from the city and had kids. And, they'd have kids and they'd be in this, Woodstock. And then the kids from Woodstock would move to the city, be there for a while, and then come back to Woodstock. So, like, it usually seems like everyone would come back, So, yeah, she ended up, she grew up here. Then she moved back, to the city we met. And then we moved back up here in 2009.
Okay.
So, yeah. Okay. So there's a lot of people that are like, there's a lot of people from the city, though, that actually moved to Woodstock. There are people that have been in Woodstock a long time, but it's usually people that are like migrating up from New York City that want a more artistic sort of lifestyle, Yeah.
Get out of the city. Yeah. Well, hey, I want to say something. A little shout out to Robert Rowe, the Rock and Roll podcast. Robert said he's leaving. He's got to get some sleep. Love you guys. I just want to say, Robert, I hope you're still listening. I want to thank you very much. You've been popping into the shows and chatting with us and hanging out a bit. And I'm looking forward to your shows. You put a list of what they're going to be on the other day. You ought to put that list back on again with the dates, because we're looking forward to coming in there and having some fun with you. So good night, Robert, and thank you. And Kate, once again, we always enjoy listening to you on your podcast. Your Kate's Corner. Always fun talking about the Monkees and Bon Jovi on the last one. And I was a fan of Bon Jovi. And of course, everybody was a fan of the Monkees. I mean, they were just a fun little band,
Right.
So anyway, let's see. Getting back here, let's see. This list happened after the concert. The other list I pop up on the screen happened, before the concert. So that's why the order, you can't find any two lists that where the order matches really of who came on and stuff like that. But it looks like also with the Who, the last band I can really talk about a little bit is Jefferson Airplane. Jefferson Airplane also played. I mean, what a lineup! I've got Surrealistic Pillow.
That's a great album.
It's a great album. I have 2 copies of this. Sometimes I don't even know where I get the second copies. I just,
Right.
But yeah, this is a great album.
Yep.
Yeah. It's such some of these songs. I mean, Surrealistic Pillow, mono. Well, it's made in mono and stereo. It says She Has Funny Cars, Somebody to Love. That was a big song. My Best Friend Today, Coming Back to Me, White Rabbit, of course. I mean, that's the most, when I was in Haight-Ashbury making that little travel vlog, on the side of the building, they had, down toward the bottom end, there was Alice, the big cat, and the White Rabbit, and some of the other things that were, and then they had Janis Joplin on the same building and Jimi Hendrix on the same building and Jerry Garcia on the same building, all iconic people for that area, well, for all of us, So anyway, so Jefferson Airplane was there. And again, they were one of the several bands I mentioned that played free concerts at Golden Gate Park. That's pretty amazing, really. So
Yeah.
that's how day 2 ended. Let's look at a couple of pictures. I got a couple of fun pictures to throw up for us to look at. Okay. Well, we've been this is the classic Woodstock guitar with a little white bird on it, dove, whatever it is. And then we'll
Yep.
go through some of the others. I love this picture.
That's great.
I always had motorcycles. Happen to be bikeless at the moment, but I can really see this happening easily.
Yep.
Let's see. Santana, Janis Joplin, and Jimmy. Move over, Rover. Let Jimmy take over.
Yep.
Yeah, here we are back at the food kitchen. I think I showed that one already.
Yep.
I mean, how do you feed a 500,000 people, though? Really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
And this is the line. The traffic is all stopped. Guys sitting on the trunk of the car playing the guitar, and this is when you want to have a motorcycle.
Yeah, that looks like that's going up 209. Honestly, that's
Oh,
what. Yeah.
Now, how far do you think they are from the concert right there?
I don't know. It could be an hour away. They could be 15 minutes away.
But it still could be a 5-hour trek. That kind of traffic.
Absolutely. Oh, totally.
Now this is an interesting one because this is how I picture Woodstock.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. And then this is another one how I picture Woodstock here. Look at this. Of course,
Yeah.
the upper right, that's the same picture we're just looking. But look at this sea of people.
I know it's crazy.
It's just so crazy. I was at California Jam too at the Ontario Speedway, and there was a couple 100,000 people there. Ozzy was there. A bunch of good bands were there.
Yeah. But you know what? It's like it really. I mean, I wasn't there obviously, but just looking from that picture, it looks like they're pretty well spaced out. Like they're sitting down. It's not like
yeah.
You're not like going to like some metal show at Waken or something crazy where everyone's on top of each other and getting pushed.
Right. Not like a mosh pit.
No.
But anyway, so that was amazing times and an amazing concert. Okay, let's see what happened on the final day. Okay, day 3 began around 2 p.m. with Joe Cocker. Joe Cocker played, and I have. Yeah, that's right. Joe Cocker. I love Joe Cocker, and I think I discovered Joe Cocker like Richie Havens and Santana at Woodstock. I don't know that he was much of a name then. And it was always kind of unusual the way he moved his hands and stuff while he was singing. You didn't know if he had some sort of I don't know. Did he have some sort of
No.
It was just the way he liked to move around. It was just kind of weird.
Just letting it out,
Especially the way he did it at Woodstock. It was just unusual, to see.
Yeah.
But what a talent. Oh my God. We love Joe Cocker and his music. And of course, 10 years after, Alvin Lee. And the big song he did there was Going Home, And Alvin Lee was fantastic. I have 10 years after is the band, singer guitar player Alvin Lee. But I have a 10 years after, Cricklewood Creek here. Doesn't have my favorite song Going Home on it, but it's got some good songs on it. And I think this is a gatefold too, I think. Unless I'm just ripping it open. I don't know. But no. It's
yeah, cool. That's cool.
Yeah. It's a cool album. And 10 years after is a good band,
Definitely.
They're a really good band, and they really did a great performance there at Woodstock. Okay, so 10 years after, the band, I love the band. They were really good.
Right.
Johnny Winter played on the last day.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that either. Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
Right.
I never got really that into Johnny or Edgar Winter. Oh, they had songs that I liked. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't rarely remember running out and buying their tapes and albums and stuff. But I did
John. I like Johnny Winter a lot. He's really cool. Yeah. If you like, it's blues guitar playing.
Yeah, no, and I do. I really do. Of course, Paul Butterfield Blues Band. They were good. Yep. Yeah, I remember listening to them quite a bit. And then Sha Na Na. Now, let's see, somewhere on my list, and I don't know how I missed them. Let me back up a page or two, because I know that I saw Iron Butterfly, and I don't know where they went on the list. They might be on one of the other lists that wound up not being accurate once the show started. So just for the heck of it, I had 2 copies of Iron Butterfly Ball, and I have at least 1 copy of Inagata Devita. And I used to really enjoy Iron Butterfly. I think these guys were great.
Yeah,
they were heavy before their time, you know.
They were.
And very heavy before their time.
Yep.
Okay, so what happened was Hendrix was the last musician to perform at Woodstock, and due to rain delays, it prevented actually from him taking the stage until Monday.
Right.
Supposed to take it on Sunday, the last day of the show, but he stayed till Monday and woke up to a crowd of somewhere between 25 and 35,000 people. Were all
Right, a lot of people left.
Yeah, most of the people left, from 400,000 or 500,000 down to 25 to 35,000, they say. Yeah. And so anyway, so Jimi Hendrix got up on stage and performed, and I'm a huge Jimi Hendrix fan, and every time I see a new Jimi Hendrix album, I find a way to get it, and I have Jimi Hendrix live at Woodstock right here. Nice. And you see he's wearing that white leather fringe jacket, of course. Yep. And I have a big painting of him hangs in my entry hall. On one side of the table is Jimmy Page playing the double neck guitar, and on the other side is Jimi Hendrix in the white leather fringe at Woodstock. And a friend of mine, Joe Almeida, he's got a band with one of the originators of LA Guns. I can't, his name's escaping me at the moment, but they came to play acoustically, you know, at some venues locally, and I got to know him. And Joe Almeida would bring his artwork, and these aren't like reproductions. I mean, these are, you know, ink drawings, you know, and nice stuff too. And he'd bring them out and just lay them out on these big tables, you know, while they were playing. And I saw that Jimmy Page on the double neck, and I just about lost it. And then my wife and some of my in-laws surprised me and bought it for me as a gift for Christmas. Nice. I didn't know about it, you know. And because when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, you know, playing the double neck Gibson, right. You know. And they got me that. So when I decided I needed a Hendrix, I contacted Joe, and I go, hey Joe, man, I need a Jimi Hendrix. I really enjoy the Jimmy Page you gave me. Now I need a Jimi Hendrix, same size. And he sends me texts me like 3 or 4 pictures of ones he already had made. You know, I go, no man, it's got to be the white fringe. It's got to be the white fringe jacket at Woodstock. I mean, nothing will do but that. And so I went online and I printed a couple of pictures off that I found and sent them to me. And so now I have Jimmy at Woodstock in the white fringe leather jacket. You know. And that's cool. I really love that picture too. I mean, I've got several Jimi Hendrix. I've got one here from George Kalkoff, really a nice one here, and then I have another one over here from Chris Burns. It's a pencil artist. You've probably seen some of his stuff, and it's really great too. You know, great work. And actually, I think it was Gloria and Linda Foster, I think, sent that to me. You know,
nice.
And yeah, and I really appreciate that. You know, that kind of stuff doesn't happen to me every day. You know, right? And in fact, rarely. You know, and so I really appreciate it when it does. Bill K's here. Hey, Bill, how are you, buddy? Let me throw a quick hi, Bill, in there to the chat. Nice of you to show up. We're kind of on day 3 at Woodstock here. You know, and hold on, that didn't, I wasn't in the right place. We were just talking about how Jimi Hendrix was scheduled to play on the 3rd day, but it went over so bad. It was all kinds of delays due to traffic, and everybody was going on at unplanned times and things like that. And Hendrix got pushed back to Monday. The concert was supposed to be over Sunday. And so 25 to 35,000 people out of the 400,000 or 500,000 stayed to watch him play. And I guess it was just an absolute, I mean, I've seen it on TV and at the movies and stuff. And it was an absolutely amazing performance. And even today, I went to a 9/11 tribute, here in Atascadero, and they had the fire department raised a great big American flag, on their high ladder and stuff like that. And then a couple of really good bands playing. I was blown away how good the bands were. Well, the second band that played, the guy started off his set with Jimi Hendrix Star Spangled Banner, and I absolutely love that song. But this is Jimi Hendrix live at Woodstock. Hasn't been opened yet. and I'll read the songs here. I'm going to open this. Uh, Introduction, Message to Love, Hear My Train a Comin'. That's a fantastic song. He does that acoustically and electrically, And the acoustic version on the 12 string is really cool. It says it's only recorded, only 12 string, only acoustic guitar you can find Jimi Hendrix playing is that Hear My Train a Comin'.
It's on the Jimi Hendrix Blues album.
Yes, and I have that too.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Hispanic Castle Magic, Red House, one of the greatest blues songs of all time. Lover Man, Foxy Lady, Jam Back at the House, Isabella, Fire, Voodoo Child. That's a great song, Voodoo Child. Voodoo Child, Slight Return. Starts out with that, wah wah pedal, going off, and Star Spangled Banner, Purple Haze, one of my all-time favorites. I play a little bit of the intro on that. Woodstock improvisation. And then there's side six. Side six? How many albums are in here? Maybe there's 3 albums, not 2. I haven't even opened it. Villanova Junction and Hey Joe, another favorite of mine. Hey Joe. Now I'm wondering, side 6, there's got to be 3 albums in here. And of course, this is the authorized Hendrix Family Edition. Excuse me. 15 songs, Purple Haze, on and on and on. 14-page booklet. That's why it's so thick. Anyway, I'm not going to actually open on the show, but I'm very curious. Is it 2 or 3 albums now? Like 6. I might have to open it. Okay, so I think what might be kind of fun here, I have a list of bands that were invited to play at Woodstock and declined to play. My whole family's just getting over being sick. My daughter got sick, then my wife, then myself, and I got a home COVID test that only takes, minutes to get a result, and I didn't have it. So apparently we decided none of us had it if I didn't have it.
Right.
Okay, so musicians who declined to perform at Woodstock include Simon and Garfunkel, Led Zeppelin, Bob Dylan, The Byrds. We recently bought a Byrds album. My wife wanted it, and I'd forgotten how many good songs they had once we played it. They really are a good band.
Yep.
Moody Blues. I have a bunch of Moody Blues albums. The Doors. Can you imagine that? I mean, if Zeppelin and Dylan and the Moody Blues and, the Doors had been there. Roy Rogers, John Lennon was invited. Chicago was invited. Chicago Transit Authority, of course. The Rolling Stones were invited. Okay, so the legacy of Woodstock. Woodstock officially ended on Monday, August 18th, after Hendrix left the stage. Leaving Woodstock wasn't much easier than getting there. Roads and highways became jammed again as festival goers made their way home. Cleaning up the venue was a mammoth task and required several days, many bulldozers, and tens of thousands of dollars.
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. And in 2006, the Bethel Woods Center for the Arts opened on the hill where the Woodstock Music Festival took place. So you're familiar with that, obviously.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. It hosts outdoor concerts. You were talking about those a few minutes ago.
Exactly.
Outdoor concerts in its beautiful pavilion. There's also a 1960s museum on the site. So what kind of people have you seen there? Concerts at this?
What concerts have I seen there? I took my my daughter to go see her first concert there, and was Blondie with Garbage. And so I went to go see that. But that I think we went to go see some like kids thing when my kids were really small. But
Oh, did
but because honestly, it's like 90 minutes away.
you? Okay.
I don't really go to like that venue that often. It's really
Okay.
beautiful though.
Yeah, 90 minutes. That's a bit of a drive. You know,
Yeah,
we have.
I'd rather go to New York City to see shows. So that's what I
Yeah,
normally do is go down to the city, which is 90 minutes away,
right.
maybe 2 hours, you know.
Let me do one quick shout out. Psycho's Platters, who's Psycho's got a good show. He's very knowledgeable in music, and I pop in there whenever I can. And hey, Psycho, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you on the show. We just went through the whole 3 days of Woodstock with Hendrix on the fourth day, and it was a crazy time there too. A lot of people were very very high. Anyway, so
That's
we're kind of at the tail end here, and we're talking about what happened afterwards.
right.
And you know, Woodstock is best described. Okay, many popular musicians have performed at the Bethel Woods, including some who took the stage at Woodstock, such as Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young,
Right.
Santana, Arlo Guthrie, and Joe Cocker have all performed there. Woodstock is perhaps best described as Max Yasgur's, the humble farmer who lent his land for the occasion. Addressing the audience on day 3, he said, "You've proven something to the world. The important thing that you've proven to the world is that 500,000 kids, and I call you kids because I have children who are older than you are, 500,000 young people can get together and have 3 days of fun, music, and have nothing but fun and music. And God bless you all for it." Yeah, that was cool. Cool thing for him to get up on stage and say. So, Scott, do you have anything else?
Well, I can just tell you about Woodstock that, it's got a
Yeah,
really rich, not, the concert itself, but the actual
right.
town of Woodstock has a really deep history in artistry.
Okay.
It's an artist colony since like the turn of the century, early
Okay.
1900s.
Right.
Here's a couple studios that are very notable up here. The Bearsville studio where Rolling Stones recorded, Some
Right.
Girl, a lot of other bands recorded there. Many bands recorded at Bearsville. There was also Utopia Studios, which was up here, which is Todd Rundgren's studio.
Oh,
Todd
nice.
Rundgren produced a lot of stuff. Meatloaf just passed away, sadly, over the weekend from COVID. He recorded his album with Todd Rundgren at Utopia, and there's a lot of other albums that were recorded there too. So there is, still rich in music history, and
Wow.
actually the town of Woodstock itself. There's WDST radio that's up here, which is very, very supportive of the arts, and plays a very cool, eclectic mix of different types of music. Really great DJs there.
Yeah.
And so, Woodstock is still Woodstock. You come up here and, it's a cute town. There's a lot of
Right.
cool stuff happening up here
Right.
for the arts. But, it's still
Yeah.
happening. It's a crazy
Yeah.
boom right now, though, I'll tell you, because of what happened with the whole COVID situation. A lot of
Yeah.
people, moved up from New York City and bought real estate up here. So the real estate market has boomed.
Has boomed. That's what happens every place Californians start moving to. You know, they
Right.
started moving into Vegas after the recession. I mean, you were buying 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes in Vegas for like $80,000. They look pretty nice in the pictures, and now
Right.
they're like 400 and something, And of course, California always gets blamed for that, but
Right.
yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of truth to it too. But anyway, so there's been a lot of stuff locally happening. There's been some small stuff that I go to oftentimes, like Wild Child, which is a Doors impersonator. I saw them years ago. Betty and I went to see them, and they were back in town this week. I didn't go to that. I didn't make it that. And then Led Zeppelin was playing also, which I hear is a pretty good, Led Zeppelin tribute band. I didn't go to see that. And I have a friend that's in a AC/DC tribute band. They're playing all the time locally, and he sounds really like AC/DC singing too.
That's cool.
And then I've got, we've got our Paso Robles Fairgrounds, and they'll put on they'll have 10 or 12 headliners, and then they'll have opening acts for them, and then they'll have shows that are sponsored that are still, recording artist acts that are maybe they haven't been real hot lately or something, but they have been real hot and have been headliners. But some markets or something will sponsor them, and they're free shows. You just go in there and watch them. I saw Eddie Money that way, and I saw a bunch of. I saw Lady Antebellum that way, and they signed up for the free show before their big hit. I Need You Now or whatever that was a few years back.
Yeah.
And they could have been easily headliners at that point, but they signed up for the free show and they came out and did it. And I saw a bunch of good country bands and stuff like that on the free shows. But I saw some great concerts there too over the years. I mean, great concerts. Tom Petty and Bob Dylan, and I mean the list just goes on and on and on. But then we have. Let me see how many wineries. We have something like 250 wineries in our, in a 20-mile radius now. I mean, this just blew up as wine country. And one of them, Vina Robles, I'll mention because they have huge acts there. You have their own little like amphitheater there. And in April, they're going to have Ace Frehley with Alice Cooper.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I keep hesitating to buy as COVID was surging again with the new Omicron thing. And because, as soon as the Stones announced in San Diego, I immediately got on the phone and bought 2 tickets for Betty and I. Of course, then she immediately got on the phone. It's a 5-hour drive and booked flights and hotel rooms and everything. And so we had all this set up, and then they stopped it because of COVID,
Right.
And we called to get a refund. We got tired of waiting, like a year went by or something. They're like, well, you don't get a refund. It's not canceled. It's just postponed.
Right.
If the fine print, you only get a refund if it's canceled, not postponed. So anyway, so we waited and I called again and no. We're going to wait for them to, rebook it and blah, blah, blah. We will trade you some, baseball tickets for it or something, this place or some other lesser concert. It wasn't really that appealing to me. I want to see the goddamn Stones for the 3rd time,
Yeah.
And my wife and I had seen them twice together before. So finally my wife got on the phone and ripped on them for a bit. She's pretty good at that. Hate to admit, but and it was like the next day the money was retransferred into our account through our debit card.
That's
so.
Cool.
And now I now I don't know what I'm going to do if they actually wind up coming to California, because I'd still like to see them again,
Right.
But so anyway, I'm still looking at the Alice Cooper Ace Frehley, and there are no bad seats there. It's a small venue, and I can sit up there and film a little bit and stuff like that, and that would be fun too.
Yeah, I don't think anything's going to cancel anymore. I think that's it. I think it's done.
I think you're probably right. I mean, I know Ryan Roxy. And I don't know that he always goes on the road with Alice, especially when he's playing with Ace Frehley. You know what I'm saying? He may leave some of his band behind to do something like that. I'm going to look into that a little bit more. I don't know. Maybe I could stick my head backstage or something if Ryan's if I get a chance to talk to him.
No, he's definitely playing with Alice for sure. I mean, he's been doing it. He was with Alice in the late 90s, and then he stopped for a while, and then he went back to Alice, and he had that open door thing, which is great for him. But he's definitely still playing with them for sure.
Yeah, well, good.
That'll be a good
show. So I'd really like to go see that one. But that's what Vina Robles does. It was only a few months ago they had the Beach Boys, what's left of the Beach Boys there. Right. And I've seen some really good shows there, and Jackson Brown's been there 2 or 3 times. I mean, just people you'd be surprised, because it's really a small venue, not super small. It's not as big as the Santa Barbara Bowl where I saw Rod Stewart last year with a cast on his foot from playing soccer, and he paid for it too because he still tried to hop around and stuff like that. I understand the next couple of shows he did in a chair,
right.
Just couldn't do that anymore. So anyway, so that was all fun, and we've got a couple of new people here. Let's see, how do you pronounce that? CEH on a backwards R. Yeah, I can't. It's a little different, but anyway. Hi, glad you're here. Thanks for dropping in, and we hope you're enjoying it. And you too as well, Gino Paul. We already thanked you for showing up before. And anyway, so we had fun. We had fun at all these shows, and Darius Rucker was just announced he's going to be at the Mid-State Fair. I haven't really looked at who all they've booked so far. They usually have good people, And Darius Rucker went from, of course, Hootie and the Blowfish to Darius Rucker, country star. And he actually reached higher heights as the country star, too. He was really good.
Yeah.
My dad lived in Hudson Falls. Okay, this guy is from LIC. My dad lived in Hudson Falls. Are you familiar with that, Scott?
No, I don't know where that is.
Gino, what does LIC stand for, Gino? We're trying to understand where you're from. Daryl Hall's place. Let me see.
Oh, okay.
Daryl Hall's place. My dad lives in Hudson Falls. Cool. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for coming in. We've had a good show here. Caitlin says Darius Rucker played Purple Rain at our Stampede. It was simply beautiful. You got to be kidding me. I can almost hear that. He's got such a great voice, Kate. Yeah, he's such a talent. Okay, so Gino just spoke up again. It's from Long Island City, New York.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what LIC is, Long Island City. And I've got, my mother's the only one out of all of her siblings, and it was 9 siblings, that didn't stay in New York. She was raised in New York, and I have cousins in Long Island. All the aunts and uncles are gone now on both sides of my family.
Right.
You're getting old when they're all gone. Let's see. Gloria bought tickets to see Tears for Fears in June outside. Oh, that's great, Gloria. That'll be fun.
I saw Tears for Fears in 1985 on Songs from the Big Chair at Radio City Music Hall. It was one of the best shows I ever saw. They were amazing.
Really?
They were really amazing. Yeah, they sound just like the record. And Radio City, the acoustics are just amazing at Radio City.
Wow.
If you ever get a chance if you're not from the New York City area and you go to New York City, if you can go to a concert at Radio City, it's just
Radio City.
Amazing.
Just amazing.
I saw a lot of bands at Radio City. A lot.
Did you? Nice.
A lot. From Rush to Black Sabbath to Christina Aguilera. A lot of people.
Oh wow. Well, that would have been fun too. But I mean, I saw Black Sabbath twice. I saw them at the Las Vegas Convention Center when I was a teenager. And boy, that was a hippie show. I think it was 1970,
Wow.
Could have been 70 or 71. But then I saw him again at the California Jam 1 at the Ontario Speedway. And what's funny is Michael Altini was at that same show, and he's from New York.
Right. That's funny.
It's funny when you start talking about that stuff, you find out other people you know were there from so far away, But
yeah, I would. That's before my time. I mean, I saw the original Black Sabbath, but that was when they did a reunion, like in the late 90s.
Yeah.
I saw
that would have been cool too. Yeah. I just picked up I think it was yesterday, Black Sabbath's first ever album, their first one. A repressing 180 gram audiophile vinyl, whatever. I didn't have that, so
I have the double 180 gram vinyl that has all the other outtakes on it, which is really cool.
Oh yeah, no, that would be fun. Yeah. I have a Hendrix 8 album set that's got all these outtakes on it. No studio album. It's all stuff you've never heard before.
That's amazing.
It's still in the original shrink wrap that was produced in. I think I brought this up before. It was produced in 2000, and it's an 8 album set with the booklet and stuff. And it's the only one made with a velvet cover. The cover's got like a velvet, coating.
Cool. That's cool.
And,
I know what you mean.
They make them now. You can buy one now, but none of them have the velvet cover. And this was still in the original shrink wrap, so I haven't been able to open it yet.
That's cool when you can get albums that are velvet like that. I have 2 box sets that are Elvis box sets that came out like in the very early 2000s. When I worked at BMG, I was able to get them for free.
Okay.
Using. There's 2 Elvis box sets. There's one that's the red box set, and then there's the blue suede shoes one. 30 CDs per box.
How many?
30 CDs.
30. Wow.
Yeah.
I've never seen a box set that big.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That is crazy.
Really cool. Yeah, they retailed for $475 each.
Wow, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
That
Yep.
is
The
crazy.
limited edition. I think they only made like 1,000 of them each.
Okay.
But yeah, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's in a velvet box. Really cool.
Nice. That is cool.
Yep.
I have kind of a Zeppelin box set, just 4 CDs, you know.
That's
Um,
cool.
yeah, no, it's pretty cool. It's big and it has a really big color booklet in it and stuff like that. And then I have the Song Remains the Same box set with 4 albums in it.
That's awesome. I love that.
That really is good. I was, you know, I started playing it right after I brought it home and it was used and it's really good. It's great.
I mean, a lot of people, it's like when they did that live video thing, the movie, they
Oh yeah,
had parts of different concerts that they kind of
yeah,
fused together or
right,
whatever.
right.
But I still think that they were great back then. They still sounded great. I mean,
Yeah, no, they really do.
yeah, it's not Royal Albert Hall, but
Right, right, right.
that's
They
okay
do.
though.
They always sound good. You see a lot of odd stuff out there now. You see a lot of stuff that was like FM radio recordings and things like that.
Right.
Now, have you listened to any of those? I mean, it just doesn't seem like they would have the same quality, you know, if a radio station recorded it.
Yeah, I mean, like the King Biscuit Flower Hours kind of stuff, like that
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
There's definitely some good, board recording things that are floating around for Zeppelin and other
Okay.
bands too in the '70s for sure. You know,
Right. Well,
but
one of the ones I saw that was an FM recording was actually, I told you, Michael Altini and I were both at California Jam at the Ontario Speedway, and this was Black Sabbath at the California Jam. It's an
yeah,
FM recording, and I thought about buying it, and then I haven't bought it. And then one day I was just scrolling through Facebook, and Michael Altini unpackaged it, and I think it was Michael McVeigh had bought it and sent it to him as a gift. You know.
there's a live 1976 Black Sabbath like board show that been floating around forever. They finally had produced it and pressed it like proper, but
Yeah.
it's off the board. And someone that I worked with when I worked at Universal Music was at
Yeah.
that show. And I brought
Okay.
him a copy of it because it was bootlegged for a long time, but it was
Right.
good
Right.
quality. Sounds great. Um,
Okay.
it's from the Sabotage tour. It's 1976. And he was
Okay.
like, I was at that show. And like, I gave him copies of it, and it's crazy, but
Well, you
that's,
just never know. You just never know, do you? How it's going to sound?
I
You know.
know. But there's
I mean,
sometimes there's really good board stuff.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you never know. I mean, I always hear some of the guys, you know, some of the big Kiss fans that are friends of ours and stuff. And I have to say, my Kiss collection has grown. You know, I've got a Live 2, Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, the Best
Yeah.
of Kiss. You know, and I passed on double platinum. There's 2 different used record stores I can buy double platinum at now. 2 album set with some little insert stuffs, order forms, and a little bit of stuff in there.
Yeah.
And but they're like 30-35 bucks, and they're fairly worn, the covers and stuff like that. I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
I have a bunch of Kiss vinyl that, didn't make it past my teens. So, I have rebought stuff. I
yeah.
did get a copy of Double Platinum actually 2 weeks ago.
Oh, did you?
Off of Discogs, and it was in
Oh,
really
okay.
good condition. I only paid $35 for it, and
Oh, okay.
it's like mint condition.
Nice.
Everything's like intact with the booklets and everything. So it has
Gotcha.
order form. It's got the Platinum Award, and it also had a copy of the Live 2 booklet in there too as well.
Okay.
So
Yeah, it's important to know what's supposed to be in there because that all adds to the value, you know.
for sure. What's cool about Double Platinum is that there's a lot of songs. They remixed that album, like it's a greatest hits, but basically they remixed the songs. So
Okay.
there's
Okay.
different versions. It's different versions and different
I
things
see.
that are in there that are not normally on the studio recording. So
Okay.
a little extra stuff if you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I'm starting to like that extra stuff more and more, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and you're starting to see a lot more of it too, you know.
Right.
Uh, So this I
You're talking about Kiss board sounds. So you're talking about the board tapes or whatever for Kiss live board
uh
tape.
no. Yeah, no, I haven't I don't have any of that kind of stuff. Or
Right.
I know that, like when I bought Destroyer and Rock and Roll Over, don't quote me on this, but this was the first time they'd been released, in the United States in like 25 years or something like
You
that,
mean the vinyl?
The vinyl, yeah.
Yeah, the vinyl. Yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah.
vinyl. And I think that's where all of these, overseas things come from, is because if they're not producing them here and they're producing them in, Germany or Argentina or Brazil or wherever, and the Kiss collectors really just buy them up, no matter where they come from, you know.
There's so much stuff to collect for a lot of things.
Yeah,
Kiss is a huge. I mean, Kiss is one of those bands that have a huge discography. So,
yes,
you can go down the rabbit hole very easily and
yeah,
just buy 25 versions or 30 versions of one record. Which is
right,
to me it's crazy. Like I'm not that kind of collector. Like I don't have millions of dollars to spend on records. Like I buy
yeah,
stuff that I listen to that, like I
yeah,
mean certain things that'll come out that are like maybe it might be a limited edition I might grab, but
yeah,
the main reason why I buy vinyl is to listen
right.
to it, not to put it up on TV.
Well,
Make it look pretty.
absolutely,
That's
absolutely.
just me, but
It's
there
gotta
are,
it's got it's gotta play, and it's gotta be something I like for the
right.
most part.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm just
like I had the new Sticky Fingers, the new,
yeah,
uh, reproduced one, and and then I was at a music store, and I can remember on some of the vinyl shows, somebody had the one with the zipper that pulls up and down, and boy, was I jealous of that. So the first one I found was right here in Atascadero, where I live. I went in there on record day, and here's Sticky Fingers with a functioning zipper, and I'm like, oh my god.
yeah,
In fact, I was finding so much stuff I liked, I was just going to set them aside. I was only going to buy two or three, but I was going to set a big group of them aside that I liked, and then make a final decision. And I wound up getting Appetite for Destruction that day. Um, and honorable mention was the Sticky Fingers, but I have to take them all out and look at them real close. Had some really bad scratches in it. And the store owner was standing there and he goes, you're only buying that one for the cover, right? And it was
right,
like $35 or something. And I was
right.
like, yeah, no, I was going to just look at them real close and make a decision, but I'm not going to buy it just for the cover. Well, later on, I was in another, like an antique store that has some of these antique stores here locally. I mean, hundreds and hundreds. And you go in there and you'll find nice, original pressings of Rolling Stones and, stuff that you don't see too often. I mean, and
That's
they're all in
awesome.
good shape. The people that are filling those shelves are bringing in, there's different vendors that have collections that are filling
Right.
them with good stuff.
Yeah.
There's one in Paso Robles that's great. You got, a Traffic Way Records here in town, and then you've got a couple of really good ones in Cayucas and one in Morro Bay, and you can just you find anything you want there. It seems like,
That's cool.
and but the one in Cayucas, I mean, I just score there right and left every time I go in there. I find stuff that I don't see anymore. I mean, I feel like I could buy 10 albums every time I go in there, but I
Right.
usually buy one or two, and one's usually really discounted or something. I mean, you can only do so much. I mean, you still have to have time to listen to them too and enjoy them.
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I'm just a very good comparative shopper, and that's what I do
yeah,
is just basically I do, I go and I look at stuff online all the time, and I'm kind of
yeah,
going back and forth between where do I
right,
think I can get something or not, and sometimes Discogs has things,
yeah.
sometimes eBay has things, sometimes I'm the kind of person where it's like I feel like if it's gonna find me, it's gonna find me, and I will find it. And
Is
I'm
that
in no rush to be able to go and find something and go out and buy, all these things that I don't really actually need. You know what I mean? I don't really need more vinyl.
well? The truth of the truth of the matter is, I mean, you can go. I mean, right on YouTube and do a search for any album you want to listen to. You can
Of
listen to
course.
the album sitting in front of your desk. And if you have pretty decent speakers and a little subwoofer and stuff, you've got a real sound system, you
Oh yeah,
know?
for sure. And a lot of that, there are a lot of things that are ripped from vinyl to YouTube. So, you can do that too. You can listen to stuff that's, audio
Yeah,
ripped from, onto
yeah.
YouTube vinyl,
Well, no,
So
and my Audio Technica player, my 120 USB, I mean, I can do stuff. I haven't done anything with it yet like that, but I'm supposed to be able to, rip music from my albums,
right.
the
Yep.
USB. I should play with that, but then I got to move. Well, let's see. It depends. I can download it onto a little,
Right.
little thing,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can do that kind of stuff. Then bring it in here and load it on the computer if I want,
Right.
or just listen to it through some of this stuff. A friend gave me this with some really nice headphones and preloaded a bunch of music on it that she hoped I would like.
Cool.
And I do. Then she also gave me the small little MP3 player, and with
Nice.
a bunch of music she loaded on it too. So I mean, I could take that out, either one of these out there and load music on it from my
Yeah.
albums.
That's cool. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, like, it's like you have your digital platform of choice, and
yeah,
that's all great and everything, but obviously, having a really good sound system with a good headset with good
yeah,
turntable, some vinyl is going to sound in a way better than what you're going to get like if you're going to be listening to MP3 or whatever. I mean, I just
yeah,
use it for portability, and it's always good to be able to discover music on like Spotify. Like, as an artist myself,
yeah,
like
yeah,
and I know a lot of indie people are always like, use Spotify to discover the music, but like if you really like it, if there's physical copy, buy a CD, buy
yeah,
vinyl, buy a shirt, whatever. So you want to support the artists at the same time, but
yeah.
also vinyl is very expensive. Like, if you like
Okay,
contemporary,
it is expensive.
if you like contemporary music, especially, like, my son is very into contemporary music. So like
Okay,
he's looking for things that are like, you know, that are really expensive. I mean, like, stuff that comes out that's like contemporary from major labels, um,
okay,
is expensive, more expensive
yeah,
than things that might be from an indie. So if you're
yeah,
not into indie music and you're into contemporary stuff and you want to say buy, like, you know, Adele's new record, or Ariana Grande's new record, or something like that. They're all
right,
$39.99 and up. So it's an
yeah.
expensive hobby.
It's an expensive hobby, and I'll look at, like we were in Walmart today, for example, and they have a nice selection in there and a
They
lot of
do.
colored vinyl and stuff. And they've
Right.
got this, they've got this new Ray Charles greatest hits double album set in orange vinyl. And I and
Nice.
I turned that around. I started reading the songs. And they're all songs that I like. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That I've heard over the years, and even had on tape decks and stuff like that. But anyway, and and every time I go in there, I look at that thing and I'm like, I really want this damn thing. But I'm always
Right.
so hesitant to spend $35 on an
I
album.
know.
You
No, I
know?
feel the same way. I feel the same way. Like I'm the bargain shopper. So, like, and again,
Right,
I don't need it. So, like,
right,
when
right,
I find it for the price that I feel like I'm going to pay for it, I'm going to get it.
right,
Not,
right.
and it doesn't come
Yeah,
to me. That's okay.
right.
I built most of my vinyl collection on going to, like, record shows in New Jersey. When I lived in New Jersey, there's
Okay.
like a second or third weekend record show that they'd have, like, at a firehouse, and they'd have vinyl dealers there. But this is like the early 90s, mid 90s, where, like, the vinyl
Right.
boom wasn't really happening so much
Yeah,
as
yeah,
it is
right.
now. And I mean,
And that was the time. I mean,
I
uh,
filled my collection out with $1 and $2 pieces of vinyl, classic rock stuff that I would, things like
yeah,
Fleetwood Mac Rumors, which is like a classic record. I
yeah,
am not a big Fleetwood Mac fan. They're awesome, but they're
yeah,
not
yeah.
really my thing. But I
Right,
have to have Rumors in my collection, and I
right,
got it for like $2, and it's totally clean. But you
right.
can't do that anymore. It's
No,
really
you
hard.
can't do that anymore.
It's hard to go to a record. Back in the day, I would go, and I would go every month, and I would spend $100 on records, and I would come back with like 50 records.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? And they'd be
Right,
all
50 records, yeah. Well, we had a little place downtown, and we knew the owners. Now I'm going back now maybe 8 years, 9 years, 10 years even. And he had, it was a kind of an antique and just kind of a fun shop. Had a lot of cool stuff. and they had this huge rack of vinyl. Well, I haven't had a record player in years. They were just starting to come out with those little all-in-ones. You could put an 8-track in there. You could put the little wooden ones. They look like antiques.
Right.
You put a cassette, an 8-track, or put a record on top, and it's got a
Right.
little speaker. Doesn't
Yeah.
sound very good, but and I was tempted to maybe run down and buy something like that because you could buy everything in there. And I was flipping through them, and it's like every other one was something I would have wanted, and everything in there was like $3, you know. And of course, that shop's since closed, and it wouldn't be $3 if they were there today. But if I had started buying that stuff then,
Right.
and it was available by the truckload, you know, good
Right.
stuff.
Yep.
You know, all these original pressings we wish we had today, you know.
I know.
They were giving
Totally.
them. Nobody wanted them. Nobody was playing records.
I know.
Everybody was in the digital format. That's all that counted anymore, you know.
Yep. When CDs came in, you could get vinyl for really cheap. And now
That's
forget
exactly
about
right.
it. You know, now it's really hard. I mean, like if you go to Amazon and try to find vinyl, it's extremely expensive. It went through the roof. And it has to do with like all the shortage of what's happening with pressing and stuff
They
like
can't
that.
keep up. They can't keep up.
No, they can't
Yeah.
keep up. They can't keep up. And it has to do with like the vinyl plants burning down, that whole thing that happened that burned down. There was like a big vinyl plant that burned down. And then there's
Yeah.
also like, you know, the major labels are starting to press vinyl again, and they're pressing it in bigger quantities. I mean, back in the day, they'd be pressing all that vinyl for like, you know, 1 million copies of things, right? They're
Yeah.
not doing that
Right.
anymore, but now they're
No.
starting to do that again.
Not
Like,
with the backlog of stuff, you know. They can't do that. They gotta, you know, it's like a friend of mine was telling me they pressed, you know, X amount of thousands of a certain thing, and then it sells out real quick, and people start thinking it's not going to be available again. It is going to be available again. They just have a list of, you know, a year's work they got to do before they can get back and press any more, you know, that they're already
yeah.
obligated to.
Yeah,
You know?
it's tough though, because if you're an indie artist, a lot of indie artists are having a problem being able to get their record on vinyl now. You know, there's many artists that I follow that are indie that I buy
Yeah.
their vinyl, and it's like there's one band I'm into that their album came out in October and their vinyl's still not out yet. And they're like, "Oh no, it's not
Really?
going to come until April."
Right.
So,
Right.
and that happens often now. Like it's a
It
problem
happens
for
often now. Yeah, that's exactly right. They can't keep up with the demand. It's just, I wonder if it's going to last. You know, are we going to all wind up with a whole bunch of vinyl? I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
mean, I
It
think
doesn't matter to me anymore at my age.
right.
I'll
I
just,
think yeah, I think what'll end up happening is that more plants are going to open, and then they'll be able to
yeah,
handle the demand. Um,
right.
but I think with them, you know, but again, I mean, like indie artists, I mean, they're making money off their vinyl, off the CDs, off a physical product. They're not making money off Spotify, off digital platforms. You're not really much
Right.
money. I mean,
Right.
unless if you're a major artist, you're making money, you know, for sure,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you're
Right.
getting millions and millions and millions of spins on every digital platform. So all
Right.
across that, you're going to make a lot of money, even though like artists are like, no, I'm not making enough, you know?
Yeah. 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 Hey, Scott, I think this is a good opportunity, probably getting near the end of the show here now.
Okay.
Why don't you tell people how they could listen to your music? Where's
Okay.
the best place to go to listen to your music?
I'm on every digital platform. So if you have Spotify, you can find me there. If you have Apple Music, you can find me there. If you have YouTube, everyone has YouTube and can access
Yeah.
YouTube for free. There's videos there. You know, all the music is from CD Baby, and I do all my distribution through CD Baby. So, you know, they make videos for every song of anything that's going to come out that I press.
Okay.
So it's all there. So it's like you can go to any of those places and take a listen
Okay.
all over the place, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a
Yeah.
Bandcamp page if you do
What kind of? I'm sorry. Say that again. What kind of a page?
I have a Bandcamp page, which is like, you know, most artists have now their music on Bandcamp. It's you know,
Gotcha.
an application you can go to. You can access it, you know, obviously via the internet, and you know, there's band pages there, and your merch is there. So it's like you can listen and stream there. You can download MP3s from there. You can order CDs. I have two CDs for sale. I have a new EP that's coming out on February 14th. and I'll have shirts, and I'll have also a CD, physical CD you can order from that.
And this is at a Bandcamp page?
Bandcamp. Yep.
How do you spell that?
It's BANDCAMP. Bandcamp.
Okay, good. I'm glad you
Yep.
told me because I had it written down wrong.
Yep. And so, like, you know, any indie artists that you're interested in have Bandcamp pages. So you can go down the rabbit hole and search for any sort of kind of music you like. They have anything from, you know, the indie goth and rock and dance music and jazz and hip hop and whatever, you know.
I've been getting more and more to jazz lately too.
Jazz is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Love jazz.
Well, okay. I want to thank you, Scott. I really appreciate you coming on and helping me out.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
I always appreciate the help, man. And I want to thank everybody, Bob and Kate and Gloria and Gino. Gino's been in here. And let's see. I just want to thank you guys for showing up and supporting us and watching the show. And I hope you enjoyed it. We had fun doing it. Woodstock is a really interesting topic. And it was kind of fun starting with how we got there, you know, with all the protests that were going on in the country and everything that was happening in the country. Vietnam War protests, you know, discrimination protests, women's rights protests, Latinos' rights protests. I mean, it was like everybody was protesting, you know, back then. And it was getting pretty ugly there for a while, you know. But anyway, so I guess it's all straightened out now. I mean, for what it's worth. I think the people that were protesting have been running the country for the last 20 years or more, you know.
Yep. That's how it works. You know,
the report card's still out on them, I think.
You don't want to end up being your parents, but you always do.
No, you don't. Okay, so thank you, everybody. Thank you, Rock and Roll. Looks like you just, well, no, I scrolled up. That was a long time ago, Rock and Roll. Okay, well, anyway, thank you, guys. We're going to sign off now. Really appreciate your support, and we'll see you next week. And I also have a little travel vlog coming out Tuesday night at 6 o'clock. Cool. A little travel vlog that I made. And I'm trying to cover all 21 of the missions in California. I did Mission Carmel, and this week I did Mission San Luis Obispo de Toloso. You know, Junipero Serra, you know, was the president of all the missions for a while, and he had that built in 2017. And I discovered a lot of interesting things going through that mission. I didn't realize that there's 3 bells in the bell tower in front, and there's 2 on the sides, and every bell has a different pitch. I'm like, okay, that bell's in A, that's an F sharp, that's in G. And so they actually, you know, it's like strings of guitar. I mean, they've all got their own different pitch to them, you know.
That's cool.
And so that was an interesting fact. And when I was doing my wrap up and thanking people for watching the show, which no one's really watched yet. The bells were chiming. I got to go inside the cathedral and tour the inside, tour the patio area, tour the outside. It's a fun little vlog. I think it's only 14 minutes long. I fell asleep last night, and when I was loading it, and it actually went live late last night, and a few people watched it before I woke up this morning and flipped out, and I scheduled it for a time and put it on private until then. So it's going to be Tuesday at 6 a.m. I'm sorry, 6 p.m. I don't do anything that early in the morning. Tuesday at 6 p.m. is Mission San Luis Obispo de Toloso. There's some really interesting stories. You know, we've got Los Osos nearby, which is called Los Osos is Valley of the Bears, and it was full of bears. And there's stories about all that stuff, you know. So anyway, so it'll be a fun little watch. So I want to thank everybody, and good night.
Good night. Thanks. Take care.
Bye.
Have a good one.